Abraham Lincoln dreams his own death, 1865.
He dreamed his own death.
He dreamed his own death.
No, he didn't.
Lincoln reportedly told friends, including his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, about a dream in which he wandered the White House and found a funeral in the East Room. He asked a soldier who is dead and was told, the president, he was killed by an assassin. 2 weeks later, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, and his body was laid in state in the White House's East Room, exactly as in the dream.
Would you, could you?
Would you, could you believe it now? A podcast about strange journeys, hidden truths, and wild beliefs. With Sami
And Rob.
Today we're talking about dreams.
Dreams. She wore the dream sweater.
It's tie-dye. Oh my gosh, I have a big fuzzy on that. I blame Ollie.
So
Or Rask or
this could be like a 5-part series.
No, we're going to try to get it done in one. We're going to try to get it done in one. And it's raining here in southern Utah today, so no hiking. We're just in the studio today.
It stopped raining. It's not raining
For
right now.
a minute, it stopped raining. It's been raining.
It's down for the rest of the day.
I don't think so. Okay. We're talking about dreams and what they really are. But specifically, today, we are presenting the point of view that dreams are more than what materialism says it is. So, I'm specifically going to be talking about kind of what neurobiology does say about it. About dreams, what science says about dreams, the modern material world, just to state it. But then I'm going to go into indigenous beliefs and some anecdotes about precognition. And Rob, what do you have today?
I also have stuff on sleep paralysis linked to the supernatural.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Potentially.
Okay.
So are we saying, is the question, could you believe dreams?
Could you believe that dreams are more than nonsense? Could they mean more? Do they have precognition, like abilities, like
And when you say precognition?
psychic ability, predictability? Like, can dreams actually predict the future?
Okay.
Yeah. Can you see more meaningful things? Do our dreams reveal something bigger than just our own psychology?
Okay.
Yeah. So, before we start, let's discuss where our current beliefs lie.
I believe in dreams.
Well, what do you believe about dreams?
Yes.
This is not helpful. Okay, I'll start with, I do believe dreams tell us a lot more than what the materialist point of view says. So, materialist point of view, from my understanding, and I mean, I've researched it, but still, is that dreams are just basically psychological noise, right? It's like neurobiology just kind of says it's a variety of processes that the brain does at night. And there's just what we experience is simply a byproduct of the brain repairing itself. And even in neurobiology, there's a few, different theories about what is actually going on in dreams. Mm-hmm. There's not really one definite understanding of it. I'll say, from what I can tell, different people within science have different beliefs from the scientific point of view, from the materialist point of view. But then they tend to dismiss it. It's very dismissive, I'll say. And I'm not dismissive of dreams. Full disclosure, I have experienced a lot of precognitive dreams. I've had a variety of them, I'll say. I've had a variety of precognitive dreams. I've had the kind of precognitive dream where I'm like, maybe, I don't know, probably just a coincidence. Like, I didn't really think that much of it. And then I've had really just earth-shattering, worldview-altering precognition where the dream is so vivid. I wake up, I'm like, whoa, okay, like feel weird, it hangs with me, and then the thing ends up happening pretty exactly. And I've had it with things where, we'll get into how they're defined and the different parameters that are looked for what constitutes an actual precognitive dream. But I've had them, basically, is what I'll say. I've had them for things that were random to me, random to my life. Something that's not something that I could have predicted would happen, I guess, and is pretty unlikely in terms of probability. So we'll get there, but that's where I stand personally. I do think that they mean more. I definitely lean towards the indigenous beliefs, and I'll explain why when we get there. But that's where I stand right now. So where do you stand on what dreams mean, what they are?
I think some are total BS. Absolute nonsense. Like you could have a dream that your cat ate your school or something. And then your cat is like the size of Godzilla. And then you wake up and you're like, wow, did that mean something? And I'm like, no. But there's other stuff that might be a little bit more relevant and might be a little bit more accurate. So I think that some dreams are based off of what you're seeing and going through in life day to day. Maybe stressors, all kinds of stuff. And then there's some other stuff that might be predictive of the future, I believe.
Okay.
And there's only a couple instances where I'll say that that's true. That has me saying that. And I forget the podcast we were listening to. What was the name of that podcast we listened to? It was called Spooked.
Oh, that one?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
I haven't heard of Spooked in like forever, but
that was a good one though.
That was a really good one. A lot of those. So it's pretty much a podcast that talks about like supernatural events that are actually somewhat believable.
And the guy has a really great narration voice.
Oh, his voice is beautiful. It's perfect. Yeah. It's perfect. But there's this one where there's a woman and she's pregnant. This one episode, I think it's in season 1. And she constantly has nightmares while she's pretty far along that she is outside. She is in front of a fountain. And the fountain doesn't have water in it, but it has blood in it and it's flowing. And I believe it's a recurring dream that she had. And every time she went to the doctor, she was like, hey, I have a bad feeling about this. I feel like I might need blood when I give birth or, something like that. And they're like, no, you're fine. You're fine.
She had more specific dreams too. Like she kept having blood themed dreams, but she did have a very, very specific dream that while giving birth, something happens. I think she said she needed a miscarriage and she ends up losing a ton of blood and dies. And she saw that over and over, not just in dreams, but I think in like daily, like waking visions too. And she felt like it was haunting her, like her future was haunting her.
Yeah, like it was one of those movies you watch and you're like, oh wow, but this is real. It was really happening to her. And then finally she goes to give birth and she dies. She like loses.
Well, first, before you say this, they kept checking her. The doctors were like, all right, we'll check you out for this. I forget what it was, but there's like a specific issue that she thought was going to be wrong, and there should have been signs before giving birth that this could be a complication, and there wasn't any. So the doctors are like, you're fine, this is just nerves, you're fine, it's just nerves. But then so now the time comes and
she's giving birth and she dies from losing too much blood. She lost too much blood.
But what happened though?
The doctors I don't know if she actually died, though.
No, she did. She technically... Well, she had an out-of-body... She had a near-death experience.
Okay, well, long story short, doctors got so creeped out... From what she said, that they had blood on backup for her, just in case she bled out like she said she was going to.
I think it was her OBGYN, or might have been a surgeon.
Might have been the surgeon.
Know. I think they were prepared just because her doctor was so... Yeah, she had promised her, basically. She promised her patient that she was going to take care of her. And then the doctor started getting nervous, like, what if she's right? And I let her die. And so the doctor made sure that she got bags of blood that were this woman's type.
Yeah.
So that just in case she could give her a transfusion. And she ended up exactly what this woman said would happen happened to her. And because the doctor listened, she was prepared. And so the woman technically died. Like, she said she had an out-of-body experience where she was above her body in the operating room, and she could see, like, her baby, the doctor, and her body. Like, she could see everything that was happening. And I believe, I could be confusing more than one near-death experience story. I believe she said that she could hear the conversation that the doctor was having while the doctor was out of the room. That if she was in her body, she wouldn't have been able to hear it. She said she, like, followed the doctor out into the hall. I could be wrong about that.
Well, but I can get into that in a little bit because I did find an article. It said it was an opinion article.
They always say that. Yes. Okay. So it's safe to say we both lean towards the dreams are a little bit more than what our reality or what our society has told us. And again, full disclosure, he's been there for my precognitive experiences. Like, he's been there experiencing it. Like, I sleep next to this man every day, so I wake up, and if I have a weird dream, I tell him. And I started writing them down. I write them down now. Not always, because it's like a lot of work, and sometimes the dreams...
A lot of paper.
You know, they don't make sense. And I have a theory about that, too, which, if we have time for at the end, I'll put that in. But
I don't know. These batteries
he's been there,
an hour and a half.
He's been there to hear me depict my dream, tell my dream, and then... be there with me when we see the specific event that I saw unfolding. Mm-hmm. So it's horrific. It's weird. It's weird.
It is weird.
Well, that's when we get there.
I just think, like, after experiencing, like, seeing her precognitive dreams and then myself having, like, sleep apnea and then sleep paralysis and having dreams of my own, and then doing this research, it just seems like there's a mix of the human body having this sensory experience and maybe even a anticipation of something that's going to happen. So I did a little... I was on Google Scholar.
Hang on. Before we get to there, I just wanted to kind of set the framework right now. I, again, use ChatGPT to help with just collecting sources and data on this. But I had a specific question that after I'd already been working with ChatGPT for a minute and collecting all this, something kind of like dawned on me while watching videos and reading articles and stuff. Science, like the scientific process in neurobiology, like the way they approach everything is very much based in materialism, which is a theory still on reality. It's one worldview that you can have, but it can be really reductionist and minimalist. So it reduces things down to only what we can physically see and touch, right? And anything that doesn't fit into that, it dismisses it as nonsense or reduces it down and says, that's just an unnecessary byproduct. It doesn't mean anything. And that if anyone does think it means something, then, well, there's something wrong with that person. They're just, real creative, or they're, the many things that materialists say about people that believe anything beyond materialism. So I asked a question to ChatGPT. How does modern science reckon with the development of scientific protocol, stemming from a strictly materialist worldview that is not necessarily proven to be unequivocally true, like the truth of reality? Mm-hmm. It's not the only thing that exists, and yet it seems our science, all of our protocols for the way we approach science is strictly materialist. So to me, it feels like a big gap in understanding that I don't think enough scientific research accounts for. When do they stop and say, well, this is my perspective based on materialism, but if I were to use a different worldview, how would I change my scientific protocols? And would the scientific method change at that point? Could you have a scientific method that isn't rooted in materialism? So these are some of the things that ChatGPT brought back. And it said materialism as a method, not a metaphysics. It's saying most scientists don't treat materialism as a proven metaphysical truth, but rather as a methodological. How do you say that? Okay, anyways. But as a
Where is it?
Methodological assumption. That doesn't sound right. I do think I'm saying it right. It doesn't sound right.
Methodological.
Methodological. Oh, it sounds awful. I want it to be different.
Can you say method?
Yeah, I said methodological. It just doesn't sound right.
Just say method.
Okay, so most scientists don't treat materialism as a proven metaphysical truth, but rather as a methodological assumption. Ugh. Let's assume everything has a physical cause so we can test it and measure it. That's the idea. So it's kind of agreeing with me here that there's an assumption. Mm-hmm. Okay? There's an assumption when it comes to the scientific method that I don't think enough people hold an awareness of. There's an assumption. And a lot of our education in our American society here, I'll say, is kind of based off of this assumption. That, again, is just an assumption. But a lot of us treat it as absolute fact. And so when we do that, it causes us to not have any wiggle room in our worldview to account for things that materialism can't account for. Which is, kind of something we've talked about a lot. I know you and I have talked a lot about that when it came to some of these experiences that, I don't know what to do with that. Like, your dreams aren't supposed to predict the future, and yet here we are. What do you do with that? And that causes a lot of people to dismiss what's happening to them. So the reason I just wanted to start with this is just to say that kind of for this episode, we're kind of taking an assumption as well. We're making an assumption that a lot of our viewers come from that materialist point of view. We're still growing our audience, so we'll see how that audience ends up shaping out. But we're kind of making an assumption right now that the people that we're speaking to are most likely come from a materialist viewpoint and worldview. So we're going to be talking about this topic with that in mind, with the idea that there might be evidence that challenges that materialist worldview. Okay, I just want to start it off there. So You want to start with, though, what do you want to start with? You want to start with sleep paralysis?
I was gonna.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just reading. So, obviously we dream, right? Whatever.
Well, some people don't.
Some people don't. I do, kind of, sometimes. Not really.
Well, I guess, I don't know. See, we're already getting right into the issues because it comes to consciousness again. Because there's times at night when it seems maybe we're not fully conscious, but we could be, and we just aren't recording any memory of that. Because you can have experiences that you don't remember. I don't remember my wisdom teeth coming out. I remember right before they came out and right after they came out, but I don't remember that time in between, but I was there. It happened. Mm-hmm. So you could be dreaming and just not recording the memory. You just don't remember it. Go ahead.
Stanford Medicine. They say sleep paralysis is a normal part of the REM sleep cycle. However, it's considered to be a disorder when it occurs outside of REM sleep. It can occur in healthy people, as well as those presenting symptoms of narcolepsy, cataplexy, and hypnagogic hallucinations.
Hypnagogic.
So pretty much it's essentially what sleep paralysis is it's a natural, scientists are saying it's a natural occurring part of your sleep cycle that happens when you're either falling asleep or waking up.
Which isn't that hypnagogic and hypnopompous?
Hypnagogic and
Hypnagogic is the falling asleep part, and hypnopompous, I think, is the waking up. If I got that right. I feel so
you're hypnopompous. I don't know.
See, we made that joke last time.
I don't know. So
I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna know.
I feel like it's hypnagogic and hypnagogus or something. I don't know. They're similar. But anyway.
It's absolutely hypnopompic.
It is hypnopompic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hypnopompic refers to the semi-conscious state that occurs just after waking up.
All right. So, sleep paralysis. For people that have had it, you wake up and you can't move. Scientists are saying, and they can't say for sure, so all these are opinions, but they're saying that it's a natural part of sleeping. Mm-hmm. It happens sometimes when you have like irregular sleep, or, you know, if you're on your back, usually if you sleep on your back.
I got to stop you right here. I just want to say, again, going back to my earlier point, when you're saying that these scientists are saying that this is a natural part of sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've observed is that type of statement is said often to try to, again, dismiss or diminish when people believe there's something bigger happening in a dream. And they say it's just a normal part of dreaming. And what they're saying is that it's normal to not have belief that your dream means something bigger. But I don't think that that is true. And again, it shows that gap where they're making an assumption that it isn't normal. Where when you kind of come around the other side of it, what if it is normal? What if it is normal for people to have precognition from their dreams? What if it is normal for supernatural things to occur in the dream state and it means something more than just noise?
Right.
Again, they're making an assumption. I never said, I think a lot of this is never, the people that do believe it, like indigenous groups, they never said it wasn't normal. They actually are saying it's extremely normal. It's just not integrated into that materialist worldview.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I just want to point out that statement suggests another assumption.
I guess.
Yeah, they're assuming that this doesn't happen to most people, so if it's happening to you, there's probably something wrong with you. You're probably having some type of sleep disorder. Is it? Or because we keep saying that, are people dismissing their experiences and pretending, no, that's not happening to me because they don't want to be diagnosed with a sleep disorder? They don't want to be pathologized.
Wow. Just saying. All right. Thanks for dumping all that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for dumping all that on us. So Stanford said that, and now I'm looking at another article, another opinion, published February 28th, 2017, from Frontiers in Human Neuroscience. It's called Sleep Paralysis, the Ghostly Bedroom Intruder, and Out-of-Body Experiences, the Role of Mirror Neurons. Have you heard of this before?
I've heard of mirror neurons, yes.
So pretty much what this opinion piece is saying is that there's these things called mirror neurons, and they believe that the mirror neuron system are crucial to providing the hallucination of an intruder when you're having sleep paralysis. So I think they call it like the incubus phenomenon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when you have the sleep paralysis, you obviously like you can't move. Scientists are saying, oh, it's designed so you don't wake up all of a sudden and fall off a cliff, right? So your body doesn't act. But when you get this, you feel like you got something on your chest.
Yeah.
So people have been like, hey, there was something sitting on my chest, or like, oh, something was behind me, or like I could feel like a shadow in the room or whatever. And they were causing that.
I have to point something out again.
What? You look like you have to say something.
I do. So they're calling a hallucination, that the mirror neurons are causing hallucinations. And I'm guessing they're using the psychological definition, which is a sensory perception that occurs without any external stimulus, or also known as a false perception of objects, events, or sounds that appear real to the individual. Again, I just want to point out that that's based off of an assumption. Because again, until or unless we have really clear parameters on what consciousness is, materialism doesn't know, we can't 100% say that a hallucination isn't real. It might not come from the 3D material world. That could very well be true. Sure. Maybe the material world is not producing it. That doesn't mean it's not real or a real experience. And Are we following this here? I just want to point out, I'm going to keep doing this every time I hear where there's been an assumption. I'm going to point it out because I don't think we should keep letting those assumptions fly, because it does something to the psyche of the person listening when they accept it as, oh, yeah. No, question that. A massive assumption is being made there.
Can I keep talking about this?
Yes, you can keep talking about it, but I'm just warning you.
So the mirror neuron system. With this, the mirror neuron system, what these people are saying, Jalal and Ramachandran, they're both saying that this mirror neuron system allows you to temporarily detach yourself from your body and see the world from another person's vantage point. So these people are saying that, like, say you have like a bowl of popcorn. Mm-hmm. And like I'm watching you like eat the popcorn. Like you put your hand out and you grab the popcorn, right? You've done it like 5 times, and then you're staying still. The person who's watching, like me, mm-hmm. there's like a thing in my brain that's going off where I want to reach out, and like I can see myself reaching out like from your vantage point.
So mirroring my behavior.
Mirroring your behavior.
Yeah.
So they're saying that, like, even though you're temporarily seeing the world from another person's location, you're not literally leaving your body. So they wouldn't consider this an out-of-body experience, but they're saying that this is modulated by 2 sources. First, the sensory afferents from the body, and the second is the prefrontal cortex. Mm-hmm. So there's like a dual representation, like a feeling that you're like in your body and then also in their body, or like looking at it from
by location. I just want to point out another assumption. Again, until or unless we have a solid definition of consciousness from materialism and the scientific method, we don't know that you're not out of your body. We don't know really what it means to be in your body or out of your body.
That's why this seems to be an opinion piece.
Yeah, I'm not discrediting the opinion. I just want to point out again, assumption.
Hypnopompic. I see it again.
Hypnopompic. Yeah.
That should be
the waking up.
That should be your next album. Hypnopompic.
I like Hypnopompous. Waking up proud.
But I thought that was interesting because they were like, oh, yeah, you can bilocate, but you're not.
Well, science does that a lot, too, where they start to explain something, and then animists and spiritualists and indigenous cultures are like, And science is like, no. That's not what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like it sounds like that's what you're saying.
This thing's like 2 pages.
Like, you're jumping. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's like some kind of scientific opinion piece on trying to understand where sleep paralysis and out of body comes from.
That's interesting. It also reminds me, I don't know if that went into synesthesia at all, but there is something called mirror touch synesthesia, which I think they think it plays off of those same mirror neurons, and maybe someone that has increased or heightened connectivity. I don't really know how all that works, so... But essentially, yeah, mirror touch synesthesia is like if I see you being touched on the shoulder, I'll feel it on my shoulder too. Mm-hmm. Right? Or you see me tapping on my shoulder, you would feel a similar tap on your shoulder. Even though it's not technically happening to you, you still feel it. So,
and like these guys were saying, it might be...
Right, using those mirror neurons. And so someone with synesthesia is thought to be someone that just has increased neural connectivity. So they might have heightened experiences of that. So everyone would have some level of experience like that, but someone with increased neural connectivity is going to have a heightened experience of it, which will create them to kind of cause them to basically have a new experience of reality. But again, until we understand consciousness better, we cannot say that it's not really happening.
Right.
We really can't say that. That is a really big and unfair assumption, and it diminishes and dismisses the experience of a lot of people. So.
Right.
Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to present on that?
On sleep paralysis?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had... Okay, so here's another thing that I came up with that I thought. Okay. Because you were saying, like... Well, we were saying that sleep paralysis happens to people. Mm-hmm. Right? And, like, these hallucinations or, like, feelings of something in the room when it's happening. Mm-hmm. But, like... My question earlier today to myself was, what if someone else was in the room witnessing that thing? So, like...
sleep paralysis?
Right. So, like, I'm having sleep paralysis. I see something in the room. I'm freaking out. You wake up. You're like, oh, wow, what is that? You know what I mean?
So what you're talking about is pointing to an issue that the scientific method has with studying this, is that it's kind of difficult to repeat it, right? I don't know about you, but I can't predict when I'm going to have sleep paralysis. They might be able to try to induce certain states that could cause it, and maybe in someone that is having like regular bouts of it, they could try to bring them into a study and do something like that. But then if they did that, the doctors would be like, well, we were in the room with them and we didn't see the demon. But it might be something that, what if it's there purely in like consciousness form or spirit form, however you want to call it. And what if what was needed in the room was a psychic who could psychically view the same thing? You know what I mean? And this is where the scientific method doesn't allow for that, because it doesn't believe that psychics are real. But say if we wanted to find out, hey, is this something that multiple people could see? Well, the person sleeping isn't seeing it with their eyes open necessarily. They're sleeping, right? They're not, you don't know that they're fully experiencing it through their eyes. They're experiencing it through their brain. So you might need someone else in the room who is relying on the brain, different modalities of the brain, to experience it and see, okay, if I was in there and I was trying to psychically view whatever this person in sleep paralysis is experiencing, well, I see it too. And then they would have to meet up after and talk about it.
You would have to have sleep paralysis at the exact same time in the exact
No,
same
not
time.
Necessarily. That's your misunderstanding. You're thinking that both people have to have the sleep paralysis. Only one has to have the sleep paralysis and the other one is capable of psychic viewing. When I say psychic viewing, I mean kind of like remote viewing. Someone that has that ability, or a mediumship ability, right? If we think that it's a possibility that the sleep paralysis experience, when they're seeing someone or there's something on their chest, or they think someone else, there's like an energy or an entity in the room with them, it's not necessarily physical. So the theory that I think you're going on is that this could be a spirit of some sort, some type of consciousness that is not embodied. So it doesn't have a physicalness to it, but it has an energy to it. So it's not going to be necessarily perceived visually, but it could be sensed through a psychic sense. So if you had a psychic present with the sleeper, and the sleeper goes into sleep paralysis, the psychic viewer would just have to go into whatever their state is to view, whatever their protocol is, and they'd probably just have to stay in it. And it wouldn't, I mean, they could probably do it if you have someone that's pretty consistently having sleep paralysis and they're willing and agreeing to do it. It'll be in the falling asleep or the waking up. So if they keep the psychic around, like, all right, oh, they're starting to wake up, get in there, like, okay. Like, you could do that. But science doesn't, this is my point with the assumptions that materialism, the scientific method comes from materialism, and it's that assumption that, oh, psychic ability isn't real. So that would never be part of that process. But if you loosened up on materialism and you said, hey, what if we developed protocol that involved these other worldviews? Then you would put a psychic in the room.
Yeah.
And maybe people are doing this. I know Dean Radin and other parapsychologists are looking into this. They're doing studies on this.
Yeah,
so
that guy's doing a lot.
Maybe they've done something like that. I'd have to look that up specifically.
I don't know, but
sure.
I just tried to see if there was anything like paranormal or supernatural with sleep paralysis, to see if like anything simultaneously was witnessed by another person. And this pretty much just said like there are like unsubstantiated claims of like husband wife being like, oh yeah, there's something else, or
a lot of this stuff's anecdotal, because
or if it's like a haunted house. Yeah. Like if they like go to Salem or something and they're like, oh yeah.
But then there's issues with that if there was like a known ghost story before the people went there. If they heard about it, they knew about it beforehand.
They're anticipating.
Yeah, there could be anticipatory aspects to that. And that's where, again, the scientific method is just going to say, well, you know,
yeah, it could be confirmation bias where they're like, oh yeah, I remember seeing something.
And that stuff absolutely exists. We do have creative minds, but still, you always have to ask, well, even if you created it, why? You know, there's still a psychological question there that I think is important to ask, but.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. What else got?
The sleep state is called atonia, I think.
Atonia.
Atonia. Atonia.
Mm-hmm.
What else do I have?
Well, we can get into mine. I think it's actually a nice segue into what I have. Hang on, I have something in my.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I have. I mean, I'd be curious to know what you have.
Okay. So I started off just kind of surface level, what are dreams, from scientific idea, that materialistic idea. And it's kind of what you talked about. There's different types of sleep. There's REM, and you have where the prefrontal cortex is less active, while areas like the amygdala and emotion and visual cortex are more active. And there's memory and emotion. And a lot of neurobiologists believe that dreams are thought to be a processing of emotions and consolidation of memory, or could even be simulating threats or other problem-solving scenarios, which I think that there is a lot of that happening. Just from my own personal experience, that tracks. I can tell if I'm going through something in particular, I'm going to dream about it. If I binge watch a TV show or something right before bed, I'm going to dream about the show or the themes of the show. So there is definitely... I understand like why that is a theory, and I do feel like personally, that's going on. I think that there's more to that personally, but there's also theories of why we dream. There's activation synthesis theory by Hobson and McCarley, that dreams are the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural activity. Sure. I think the random is assuming that it's random. I think things seem random when we don't have enough information to understand it, right? If we don't have a big enough perspective, it might seem random. But if, you zoom out, oh, no, that's not random. It's part of a pattern. You just don't know. So that's assuming that there's threat simulation theory, that dreams are evolved to simulate dangerous events, helping us rehearse responses. I could see that too. Definitely had dreams where I'm like, that wasn't like precog, but... it definitely seemed like I was practicing like having a altercation or an argument with someone. And they can be helpful. I think those can actually be really helpful. Information processing theory. Dreams help process and store the day's experience into long-term memory. Yeah. And then emotion regulation. Some studies suggest dreaming helps down-regulate intense emotional experiences, especially traumatic ones. This one I absolutely agree with. And again, I think that that's actually a really... significant thing that I think, I don't know if science is necessarily doing that, but people tend to, when they hear it scientifically, like, oh yeah, okay, sure, whatever. And they don't think much about it, but really that's an incredible process of the brain that's happening when you sleep, that it can help you process traumas and emotions. And I've noticed this too when it was after the precognitive dreams, I started really paying attention to my dreams and writing it down, and I started noticing certain themes. And these weren't necessarily precognitive dreams, but I just started to notice, something's bothering me. Like I had something that was subconsciously bothering me, kind of like a trait that I had that needed some adjusting and fixing, and it was making me feel a certain way. And it wasn't until I was logging that in a dream log, in a dream journal, I'm like, whoa, this is actually bothering me. I need to address this. And then once I did, I stopped having dreams like that. So it's important. I do think our dreams are helping us with that. And it's a very big thing that it's doing for us, that if we start paying attention to it, it has really big impacts on our mental health. Mm-hmm. So That is to say, I like all of that, and I like that science is looking at that. And I agree. Okay, so then I went into precognitive dreams. I wanted to know what science says about that. I'm just kind of curious, like what various institutions have said about it. So a lot of the studies on it come from the Sleep Foundation. So it's neurobiologists and then sleep studies. So I'm like, okay, I don't love that. According to the Sleep Foundation, surveys indicate that between 17.8 and 38% of people report experiencing at least one precognitive dream in their lifetime. So I didn't see what their sample size was for the survey. I would definitely be curious to know what that is.
Yeah,
I actually suspect it's higher than that. This is just what they're reporting on. I think it's higher because I think you have to was this survey done just in the United States? Did they do worldwide? And then
was it 10 people? How
do those people define, what's their personal definition of precognition? And so I did go into that to see, what is the definition of a precognitive dream? So we'll get there. But there's also a lot of historical accounts, which is actually kind of fun, and I'm really excited to read these. So we're going to talk about Abraham Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln,
Ooh.
Carl Jung,
Ooh.
or Jung, is it Jung? It's Jung, right? Silent J. Carl Jung. I'll check. I'm going to say it both ways, and then I'm going to leave in the one that's right. Carl Jung.
Is that
Carl Jung?
Every time we hop on one of these, you mess up someone's name.
It's because I care too much about saying it right.
Yeah, you
and
do.
I overthink it. I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
Big time.
But they both reported dreams where they foretold the future. So, but I got a bunch of them. So there's also psychological and cognitive explanations. So this is from ChatGPT. That helped me assemble these. But so this first one is actually from PubMed. It's a 2014 study explored whether precognitive dreams result from unconscious processing of environmental cues. The findings did not support a significant relationship between implicit learning and precognitive dream experiences. There's another one from the Sleep Foundation, which is meaningful coincidences. Research suggests that individuals with a high tolerance for ambiguity and a belief in the paranormal are more likely to interpret coincidental events as precognitive dreams. I would really like to point out that this is a very condescending take and massive assumptions being made once again. I won't go over it again.
I'm sorry. Why is it condescending?
Your yawn or what the Sleep Foundation said.
It's really difficult
for you to pay attention if you're not the one talking. I know.
I don't know if I'm getting enough sleep.
Okay. Meaningful coincidences. Research suggests that individuals with a high tolerance for ambiguity and a belief in the paranormal are more likely to interpret coincidental events as precognitive dreams, according to the Sleep Foundation. They're saying that precognitive dreams are just coincidences that mean nothing, and people that think they're having precognitive dreams are just people that have a high tolerance for ambiguity, meaning they see meaning in things that mean nothing, and they believe in paranormal stuff, which we all know is BS. That's their stance. That is what that is saying.
I mean, that woman saved her own life by dreaming.
Right. But they'll say, well, that's just anecdotal. That doesn't, you have to repeat it to. So how many people need to come forward with similar stories before we accept that? That's a repeated pattern.
I mean, one is pretty good.
Wait, it didn't happen in a lab. It didn't happen in an official study, so it doesn't count.
You can't really do it in a study.
You can, but it's difficult. Maybe not with this specific material-based scientific method. You'd have to develop new methods.
Right.
They don't want to do that for many reasons, which I'm not going to get into right now. I just think, again, Sleep Foundation.
I had them pop up too. I definitely had them pop up in my room.
Yeah, because they're like the dream police.
They sell pillows too.
Yeah, I know.
Pretty sure.
Big red flags going off. This is why I'm saying this about it. Okay. Then dream vividness. This is from ERA. A study analyzing dream reports found that precognitive dreams were rated as more vivid than non-precognitive ones, though other factors like emotional intensity did not differ significantly. I will say yes, that when I've had precognitive dreams, they were more vivid. The other thing I do want to point out, which is, this is just like, an issue, I think, from a lack of study. You don't, like, a precognitive dream is just a dream until or unless it comes true. And then that dream becomes a precognitive dream, which is what most materialists have a problem with, because they think, oh, that's just you thinking that, like, something happened and it just reminded you of that dream. That doesn't mean that was a precognitive dream. I understand, like, what they're saying, but that does not mean that it wasn't a precognitive dream if the dream was right. Especially to me, I kind of define it as if the dream I had caused me to change my behavior or caused something about what I did to be different, I'm far more likely to consider it a precognitive event. And if it was something that I otherwise wasn't consciously predicting or knowing about, right, then it's like purely precognitive, and it had an effect on like what I did as a result. Or sometimes, like, because I like avoided something because of the dream, you know what I mean? And then the thing happened, and oh, okay, like, that's happened before, where I avoided a disaster, would have been a personal disaster. The disaster happened, but I personally didn't experience it firsthand because I chose to act on the dream.
Wild.
Right. So anyway, so okay, yeah. And so laboratory studies and scientific scrutiny. So a controlled sleep, this is from ResearchGate, a controlled sleep laboratory study concluded that precognitive dreams could not be scientifically proven under controlled conditions, suggesting that such dreams may stem from sensory information unconsciously incorporated into dreams. Again, this is kind of condescending, I think, because there's massive assumptions being made here too, where...
Like what?
Well, a controlled sleep laboratory study, they're saying that it couldn't be scientifically proven under controlled conditions. Therefore, they're not finding any grounding for it. They're literally saying, well, our study was flawed, so we don't think that this is real. Like, really listen to this. A controlled sleep laboratory study concluded that precognitive dreams could not be scientifically proven under controlled conditions, suggesting that such dreams may stem from sensory information unconsciously incorporated into dreams. How is that what that means?
Is this in the United States?
Yes. This is ResearchGate.
I think we got to do another one with like...
That I go into that already in this right here. So my point is with the controlled experiments from this article from ResearchGate, they're saying that they believe that it's just not possible to study this in a controlled environment. And if it's not possible to study it in a controlled environment, they think that that suggests that dreams are only coming from sensory information that are unconsciously brought into dreams. So they're thinking that it's like, while the person's sleeping, they're sensing things, and then it's getting displayed visually somehow in the dream. I don't know what that has to do with precognition, per se. I think they're just trying to say that the brain is, again, just, like, connecting things that aren't really connected. But to me, what I'm hearing in this is, we didn't know how to study it, so we're just going to say that it's all BS. We're going to assume that there's absolutely nothing wrong with our scientific method, and our worldview has nothing to do with why we couldn't figure this out. It just must not be a thing then. That is not how science works.
How old is the scientific method?
That is a very long conversation. We're not going to be able to go there. Okay. And then there was also ChatGPT brought up another study from ResearchGate. It was a single subject study. So it says an earlier study involving a single subject over 8 nights reported statistically significant correspondences between dreams and randomly selected target events. However, the study's design limits the generalizability of the findings because it was one person.
Right.
Okay, why can't you just study one person, several different people? Why can't you just repeat that? They found it to be that the person was able to dream these target events, see it beforehand.
Okay.
Oh, but we have to dismiss it because there's only one guy. Why didn't you do it again? there's a lot of this. There's a lot of this, which is why I'm doing a lot of this. Makes me mad. Okay. So, and then from there, I wanted to ask, okay, well, how much research has actually been done on precognitive dreams specifically? ChatGPT came back saying fewer than 100 peer-reviewed studies explicitly focus on precognitive dreams. Most are exploratory, anecdotal, or based on survey data.
Survey data.
Controlled experiments are rare and often inconclusive or criticized for methodological weakness, being like small sample sizes, lack of repeatability. So basically, again, this is saying to me, we haven't really looked at it, but we're just going to go ahead and say we know that it's all BS. We don't need to look at it. That's what I'm getting from that. What are you getting from that?
I mean, I'm just saying, if it worked the first time, why wouldn't you try it the second time? It's almost like you don't want it to work.
It's almost like you don't want your worldview to change, because if any of this was actually true, oh no, what would all these scientists do?
You know what this reminds me of? Do you know what I'm going to say?
Just say it, please, today. Think of the battery life.
This is reminding me of like the people who hate Grandma Hancock, all those like scientists and archaeologists that hate him. They're like, oh, what do you mean? Oh.
You have to understand the reasons why scientists block this stuff. And to Graham Hancock's point, it doesn't mean that everything he says is correct, right? It's okay to criticize his views. He says that too. Like, that doesn't mean he is right about everything. But what he's saying is he basically doesn't get to find out. It's difficult to actually get peer reviewed, because for a lot of these researchers, they have put their entire life's work into a method that's based off of a worldview that they curated. Right? They've put all of their life's work, all of their research and data is based off of one worldview. And then you got someone come along like Graham Hancock that's saying, well, actually, what if your worldview is wrong? That means their entire life's work is wrong. And it will all be dissected, chopped up. Who knows if any of it could even be left. So what happens to a lot of these researchers is they think about things quite small, based off of their own personal impact. Anecdotal, if you will. And they are afraid of that happening to their careers, which I can have empathy for. I can understand it. That doesn't mean we let that happen, though. But that's what's happening there. They don't want to consider that, because the implications of what it means for them and their work and their life's work is just not something, they're not willing to go there. And it's the same thing with this study as well, that psychologists and psychiatrists and neurobiologists. Think about someone that's in a PhD program right now. They're trying to finish a study. They're trying to get their PhD. They've spent time and money and cost relationships, right? To try to go after this degree, and then a parapsychologist could come along and just say, actually, I'm going to blow up that PhD. You're not going to be able to finish it because I'm going to introduce something to the field that completely destroys your worldview. So that thesis you got there, that hypothesis, bullshit. And then there's a lot more of that PhD student than there are that parapsychologist. Parapsychologist is going to get kicked fluff out, right? Okay, that's what's happening. Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
I mean, imagine how much like could be done if scientists were just like,
well,
my ego's at the door, you know?
I think, again, a lot of it, to kind of defend some of these scientists, look at the society we're in. Our culture is steeped in capitalism. It's made so difficult. Everything's so difficult. The amount of money and investment for it to possibly be for nothing, and I don't think it would be fully for nothing. I'm sure there's still a lot of value in materialism. There's still a lot of value.
They could scrap something up.
Absolutely, but it would present more challenges. So I think as long as our society is built this way and runs off of capitalism, we're going to have these problems. And I do think we need empathy for these researchers. Again, empathy doesn't mean we allow it to continue happening because it's borderline abusive with the levels of dismissal of people's lived experiences. It's bad. So you don't get to keep getting away with it. We understand. But we gotta change things. Our societal structures need to change so that scientists have room to change their mind. They have room to change their mind. But right now there's just too much money and time that has to go into it. It's the whole structure of it. It just doesn't allow for minds to change safely. That is. So there's reasons for it. So trying to balance that out there. But yes, good point. Okay, so there's more, but I wanna get into so I have like empirical research studies on precognition, but I think I'm gonna skip past those because I really want to get to the history of precognitive dreams, the documented history. So I asked ChatGPT to please find notable accounts that seem to confirm precognitive dreams. So the first one he came up with was Abraham Lincoln dreams his own death, 1865.
He dreamed his own death.
He dreamed his own death.
No, he didn't.
Lincoln reportedly told friends, including his wife, Mary Todd Lincoln, about a dream in which he wandered the White House and found a funeral in the East Room. He asked a soldier who is dead and was told, the president, he was killed by an assassin. 2 weeks later, Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth, and his body was laid in state in the White House's East Room, exactly as in the dream.
Get out of here.
So I've read further into this. Again, I don't like to just take what ChatGPT gives me. I like to go read what sources to collect from.
Obviously.
Right? Well, it's not obvious. A lot of people don't do that.
What else?
Well...
What are you trying to say?
Lincoln also reportedly said that in his dream he was told it was a different person that was president, that it wasn't him, but it still seems significant to the people that he told. The other thing, so I think this is significant, and if I had experienced this, I probably would have been like, yeah, it's a precognitive dream. People might say, okay, well, did he know he had death threats? I think he knew he had death threats. So there's definitely room for... the probability of, okay, we'll just say, for example, the probability of Lincoln being assassinated compared to, I don't know, the Secretary of State being assassinated. You know what I mean? Like, it is a little bit higher. So, and we don't know, was he worried about it? He might have seen that. And the East Room is maybe where they always have funerals for presidents if they're going to have it. I mean, not that many presidents die in office like that.
Could you at this point argue that he manifested that?
Sure, but that's a different conversation. That'll be a different episode. We'll have to get there. Okay. I still think that this is pretty significant. This next one is Mark Twain. Mark Twain had a vivid dream in which he saw his brother Henry lying in a metal casket with a bouquet of white flowers and one red rose on his chest. Shortly after, Henry died in a steamboat explosion. And when Twain arrived at the scene, he saw his brother in an identical casket with the same flowers, arranged by a stranger. This one, I think, is a bit more significant and really follows that precognitive
That's freaky
setup because, with Lincoln's, okay, we know what was going on when he was president, Civil War, like to think that, people wanted him dead. If I was him, I probably would have had some nightmares about being assassinated too. Mark Twain, though, his brother died in an accident, a steamboat explosion. And I don't know how common steamboat explosions were.
I've never heard of that.
This sounds like a freak accident, so for him to... otherwise his brother seems like he was in good health, so... And I read up a little bit more on this, too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that, it was like a freak accident. So this one, to me, is like, oh, yeah, that's a precognitive dream, because...
Out of the ordinary.
How do you know? That's not something that's happening every day, Like, sure, even if it is, the fact, like, the odds that, his sibling was going to be a part of that. I think, and then with the flowers, those details, again, it's anecdotal, and Mark Twain was a very creative writer, so.
He was creative.
That doesn't mean that he's making this up. Anyway, then we have the 1966 Aberfan disaster, This was the Aberfan coal mining disaster in Wales, which killed 144 people, mostly children. Remarkably, 24 people, mostly children, had precognitive dreams or visions before the event. One child reportedly told her mother about a dream of her school being buried by something black, and she died in the disaster the next day. And the case was documented by John Barker, a psychiatrist who investigated precognition. I've heard a lot of cases like that. There was also a lot about 9/11. I'm not going to get into all of that, but we've heard a lot of them. Again, these are all anecdotal, so do that what you're going to do with that. But these definitely fall in line. Also, the Titanic sinking in 1912.
Really?
Dozens of people reportedly had dreams or premonitions about the Titanic sinking before it happened. One woman, Jessie Sayer, told her mother not to take the trip because she had a dream of the ship sinking. Her mother canceled her trip and survived.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Another passenger, Morgan Robertson, wrote a novella in 1898 called Futility about a ship named the Titan that hits an iceberg in April and sinks, eerily similar to the Titanic. I've heard of that one before. Go ahead, look them up if you want. You can,
yeah. I don't believe you.
Yeah. Okay, so I got some more. I wanted more. So we also have the dream that saved J.W. Dunn's life. J.W. Dunn, author of An Experiment with Time, documented a personal dream in which he was on a volcano that exploded. Days later, while camping near a river, he checked his watch, something he had never done at that time, and decided to move. I don't know what that means. He'd never done it at that time. Okay. Anyway, moments later, a flash flood swept through the area where he had been. He credited the dream with saving his life. Not quite, but...
Wow.
Mm-hmm. We have Flight 191, 1979 American Airlines crash. This is one of the most striking modern cases, according to ChatGPT.
Huh.
Author John Fuller in The Ghost of Flight 401 later received letters from dozens of people who said they or their loved ones had dreamed or had strong feelings not to take Flight 191, which crashed shortly after takeoff in Chicago, killing all on board. One woman said her husband dreamed of a plane crash and warned her not to fly that week, saving her life when she changed her flight last minute.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine changing your flight like the way, like, that's so inconvenient.
Yeah.
You just like, all right, hey, throw me on another one.
But once you get freaked out like that, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Some people just eat it.
So we also have the Munich air disaster, 1958. British
that?
International footballer Duncan Edwards, who died from injuries in the crash, had reportedly told friends he was having dreams about dying in a plane crash days before the event. Other survivors later recalled that he was nervous and uneasy leading up to the trip, despite the rest of the team being calm. We also have, now this is precognitive or psychic, but I'm including it because I've had experiences like this. So, dreams of loved ones appearing after death. Many people report dreams in which deceased loved ones appear shortly before they actually die, even when death is unexpected. While this may cross into after-death communication more than precognition, the phenomenon is widely reported across cultures and timelines. So I've had this specifically, which is some of the more less than pleasant experiences I've had with precognition. So my father passed when I was 14, and a year before he died, I woke up from a very weird dream with a loud, like, booming voice in my head, and it said, get ready. And I like woke up and it was like, he's dying soon. Like, my dad was dying soon. Like, this dream specifically, I don't remember if there are any visuals with it. I just, like, this voice was saying, get ready, it's coming. And I was like, okay. And I didn't think, I mean, I outright dismissed it. I didn't know what to do with that. You know, I'm 13, what am I going to do with that?
Yeah,
but like, also, my dad had been sick. I'm going to play my
Tamagotchi, you know?
Yeah, like, what am I going to do? But my dad had been sick, so even when I did later, after my father did die a year later, I kind of was like, okay, I mean, yeah, he was going to die eventually. He was sick. Like, I just kind of put it in more in the extreme pattern recognition category because that's where that felt comfy. But the thing that was weird about it, the weirdest part about it was that I had the dream, and less than a month later, we got a phone call from a random hospital in North Carolina saying that they had my dad there because my parents had divorced at this time. And my dad tried to take a bus to Florida because he always had wanted to go to Florida, but he needed dialysis. He had a kidney disease, and he skipped the dialysis too long, and so he started to have dementia. So he wasn't like fully in his right mind, and so he passed out on the bus and ended up in the ICU in North Carolina, and we had to fly down. So I remember when that phone call came in, though, when the phone was ringing, I had just the weirdest feeling. I was sitting at like the kitchen table, I was doing homework, and the phone rang, and I just looked at the phone, and I knew exactly what it was. My mom answers it, and she had a funny look on her face, and I thought of the dream, and I'm like, that's about Dad, isn't it? And my mom's like, yeah, he's sick. And I'm like, well, I know what this is about, you know? And like, we didn't have any particular reason to think he was dying soon. As far as we knew, his health was carrying on as it had always been. We didn't know that he had gotten sicker recently because he didn't tell us. He didn't want us to know.
Did he make it down to Florida?
Eventually, yes. He did. Yeah. We made sure. Yeah. And he went and stayed with his sister for a little bit. And then he came back and we took care of him for the last several months of his life. So he did. He didn't stay long, but he did. He did get to go there.
Good.
Yeah. That was good for him. So, and I've had other dreams. I don't want to get into them specifically because they didn't involve my family per se, but I have dreamt that specific individuals who were not ill, they were young. I had multiple dreams that they were going to die, and they died a couple years later.
Not great.
Not great.
Don't want to be in her dreams.
No. Also, I won't tell someone if I have a dream like this. So far, though, it's only happened one time that I've had a dream that someone died and then they didn't die. That I know of.
Yet.
No, I feel like it should have happened by now. If it was going to happen. But I will say, in the dream, there was something that was preventable. So it was
I mean, they're going to die eventually, so.
Sure, but it was something like they died young. They died young in this dream. From an illness that was preventable, and like in the dream, family members were like, oh, if only they had gone to the hospital. If only they had just gone to see that doctor. You know what I mean? It was something like that. So.
Damn.
I was like, wow, should I say something? But I didn't know this person well enough, but it hasn't happened. And like the parameters of the dream have already passed. So I got to think if there was anything precognitive about it, this person did go to the doctor and they avoided it. I don't know. I'm not going to ask and find out. I got enough crazy to deal with.
It's kind of creepy.
It is creepy. It was not someone that I know well either.
By the way, I know I haven't talked to you in like 10 years, but like you really need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, you might want to go to the doctor. Yeah.
You might want to go to the doctor.
I'm not going to be that person. Yeah. If you're too dumb.
And you should get this lipid panel because your spleen is not working and your gallbladder is oozing out.
Get a colonoscopy reading?
How the hell did you know that? Yeah.
Yeah,
do you have polyps in your butt?
I've had this too, though, where I've freaked people out before. I told someone it was a few years before they found out, but they had like a mole, and I could see it was like visible, and I was quite young too at the time. I was probably in college, and I just stopped and looked at them and said, "You need to get that checked out." And they're like, "It's fine. I'm not worried about it." I'm like, "It's fine right now, but it's not going to be. It's not going to be fine. You got to get that checked out."
Like, is that a threat?
And they like laughed me off, whatever. And I think 5 years later, it did develop into skin cancer. And the doctor was like, "Yeah, you could have had this removed years ago and never would have developed. Now we're going to keep an eye on you."
You should have listened to Sami. I don't know what you were talking about. She had a dream.
Yeah, that's just one, again, example. I've had several examples where I've known.
We don't mess around anymore.
No, if I tell someone, well, now like my really close family and friends, if they hear me say something like that, they're like, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'll go. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
On the off chance I might be right, like better have peace of mind and me be a little crazy.
All this sleep talk, I've been yawning again.
He yawns every time.
I don't. It's just the afternoon. It's a little late. It's at 3 o'clock.
You yawn every time. The majority of my editing is me cutting out your yawns. Okay, let's keep going. I'm going to leave that in. If you're that dumb to fart on camera, like, I'm not saving you from your lessons. That wasn't me.
There was a truck that was going through the neighborhood.
Okay, so now what I want to get into, I think we've gone over enough of what the material world says about dreams. And there being some anecdotal evidence for sure that there's something going on here. And this is just not even the tip of the iceberg, which seems like an insensitive thing to say after the Titanic one.
We're not cutting that one out. We're leaving that one in there.
Maybe it's been long enough. Okay, I want to keep going. I want to get into now what indigenous cultures have to say about dreams.
It's been 100 years.
Something that I think, to me, that's standing out as significant is I was just going off and looking at like a bunch of different, like, as many as I could think of. I can't include all of them, but as many indigenous tribes and cultures that I could think of, he yawned again just now, by the way.
I'm just thinking about that iceberg joke. Holy shit. Wow.
It wasn't a joke.
Way too soon.
I didn't mean it as a joke. It just clicked in after. Okay, shut up. Let me do this. Okay, a lot of these indigenous groups have very similar things to say about what dreams are, which I think is very interesting because, again, these groups they don't ever really meet.
Just
maybe now in more modern context they might, but they really, like, Aboriginals and like Native, like, American tribes, like, they have the same things. And it's not just those two, it's like all of them. Most of it comes down to the idea that dreams that basically all these cultures are like, yeah, no, dreams are precognitive. Dreams help you predict the future. They help you know what's coming. They help you prepare. They help you avoid disasters, prepare for disasters. They help you process your emotions, process traumas. Like, everything that our science is saying, they're like, yes, but then it also does this. And so I'll get into some specifics. So just because we've been talking about the Hopi a lot, I started off with that one. And the Hopi believe that dreams work as messages from the spirit world. So to them, dreams are seen as visits or messages from Katsinam, or spiritual beings, ancestors, or nature spirits. They may contain warnings, teachings, or instructions for both personal and communal life. Dreams are often believed to come from the higher self or inner knowing, not just the mind. There's a role for dreams with their initiation and ceremonies. So certain Hopi initiation rites and rituals involve visionary dreams. Young initiates or medicine people may have guiding dreams that reveal their path or role within the tribe. That's something we've kind of brushed up on before. And ceremonial leaders often interpret dreams to guide seasonal rituals or agricultural decisions. And they have done that successfully, I would just like to say. Again, something that we saw was that the indigenous tribes of the Americas had really, really intricate relationships with nature, but they were scientists. They had really, like, agriculture. Their agriculture based off astronomy and using basically dreams like a technology. I really want to, like, make that clear. They use dreams like technology. These dreams absolutely successfully guided them through survival and thriving. They thrived.
Yeah.
More than just survive. They thrived.
Yeah.
They do things a lot better than we're doing things, and they use their dreams to do that. So to me, I'm really seeing this as like a type of technology that we're not using right. So I just want to point that out. Okay. So dreams and prophecy, also the Hopi are known for their prophetic traditions, including dreams and visions that foretell natural disasters, global conflict, and spiritual shifts. Some elders have shared dreams of a coming time of purification or a spiritual day of reckoning, which is part of the broader Hopi prophecy. And we've heard some of them, like the White Buffalo prophecy. I believe it's a Hopi one, which is pretty interesting. That there's supposed to be a time when, I think they call her the white woman, who came from the sky, said that she would return. And I think the Hopi would be blessed, or there would be like a changing of events, changing of like basically power and their land back to them, and that to watch for the white buffaloes. And several white buffalo have been born in the last decade. And all the Hopi are saying, that's it. She's coming back for us. So that's cool. And a lot of it also has to do with nature and balance. So dreams may reflect imbalances in nature or community life, warning people when they have strayed from the Hopi way of peace, humility, and sustainability.
Mm-hmm. This is good. I like how you're tying this last bit in.
I know, right? There's also dream sharing and responsibility. So they have it very woven into the culture, and a lot of the various indigenous groups do as well, that within their culture, dreams will be shared with elders or spiritual leaders for interpretation. So if anyone has like a dream that they feel is significant, it's kind of part of a responsibility to share it with the group, to say like, hey, these are important. Our dreams are communicating something, and we all have a right to know. Which, you know, based on the kind of dreams I've had, yeah, I see why that would be, you know, and it's kind of something that we're starting to do in our family now, that, and it's not, I'm not the only one in my family, by the way, that have dreams like this. Just want to say that too. That we've all started to really pay attention to our dreams, and if we have something that's kind of significant, we will bring it to each other and we'll take a look at it and we'll see, should we do something here? Should we consider this? And there have been many times when, because of the dream, we avoided stuff or we found out about things. I will also say, if you lie to me, I will know.
She'll find out.
I will see it in a dream. I will.
She will find out.
Many a victim of mine have been told on in my dreams.
Many.
Yeah. Don't do it.
If I eat the last cookie in the cookie jar, she knows when she wakes up.
I know. I'll see it happening. I will see it. Like, pretty literally, too. I'll see the actual thing. So, if you've ever wondered before if I seem to know something that you tried to lie to me, anyone watching this, and you're like, how did she know? It seemed like she knew. I did. I did. I dreamed it, just so you know. Anyway, but I'm not the only one. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've like brought it to TikTok before. I'm like, has this happened to anyone else? And there's a lot of women, but a lot of people in general are like, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. So watch out. Be careful who you lie to. They might just dream about it. Okay, but that's kind of why that, okay, maybe there's someone that's a bad actor in our society and maybe multiple people are dreaming about it, and it can help you prepare. So they have this really integrated into their societies. So this is something I asked again about the Australian Aboriginal. They have something, they call it dream time or the dreaming, and it refers to a time when ancestral beings created the land, people, animals, plants, and laws. So again, the dreaming is not bound by linear time. It's both past, present, and future, accessible especially through ritual, art, song, and dreams. So they're kind of really seeing it as the dreaming or dream time is a place or a space that exists beyond just dreams. Like you can access it, but it's going to be in these kind of liminal consciousness states that we go into, which dreaming would be one of them.
Right.
I think this is really, really interesting because I definitely, in my own personal experiences, I've had experiences where, yeah, I might get something in a dream, but I might be doing art and then randomly like, oh, that person lied to me, you know, and I'll know the specifics of it. It will be sometimes when I get into these kind of like meditative or methodical states or a dream state where I'll get information. So I really liked this one. It just kind of made sense to me from my own personal experiences. So yeah, and they just say dreaming is a sacred reality that people can access through dreams, visions, or spiritual practices. That this is not just for special people. This is for everybody. If you start looking at it, if you start paying attention to your dreams, you will see this too. You'll experience it. You can ignore it and you won't, or you can lean into it and see what happens. I suggest you do. Okay. Dreams is access to the dreaming. So again, they talk about you can receive guidance, healing, and warnings. You can meet ancestral spirits. I'll say I've seen my dad in dreams many times since he died. Many, many, many times.
She has.
Yeah, a lot. And even some of those other people where I saw them die before they died, they then later came back and I saw them in a dream. And they were like, you saw it? I was like, I did. And they're like, okay. I've been told things too that end up being right. And I never know what to do with that.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah. The most notable one, I had a grandparent pass away recently. Oh no, Jack's here.
Jack's trying to come up.
Jack's here.
He just scratched my whole lap.
Anyway, but yes, I did dream that my grandparent passed away before they did.
Got some of that?
No, it's my water. I don't know what to tell you, man. Okay. So, yeah, dreams is communication with spirits. Dreams allow communication with spirits of the dead, ancestral beings, and nature spirits. Jack's here. Say hi quick, Jack. We don't have much battery life. We gotta keep going. Jack wants to talk about his dreams.
Gotta keep going.
You know, some people believe that cats protect us from spirits when we're dreaming.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why they buried him with the mummies?
Yeah, they thought that the cats would help to transport them to the afterlife. That there would be certain trials and complications, and that the cats were better equipped to guide them. I mean, it's also called I think it's called a psychopomp.
Jack's a little... No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like a hypnopomp, but a psychopomp?
A psychopomp. Yeah. I know. I knew you were going to think I was kidding.
We should do a podcast called Pompous and then talk about all...
Pompous?
Talk about all the pomp.
A psychopomp is a conductor of souls to the afterworld.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Someone told me that they thought maybe I might be a psychopomp because I was sharing certain dreams I've had where I've seen people... It's people that I don't know, but I've seen the way they've died. And, like, I'll be, like, in their bodies when they're dying. And I've woken up many times like that.
That is weird.
And they're really vivid. And I'll feel like I'll be in their body. And I feel the moment when I'm, like, it feels like I'm being pulled out of the body. And then I'm like, oh. And I'm just kind of, like, floating. I'm like, oh, I died. Got it.
Freaking weird, man.
Yeah. And that did happen. I saw that with one of my grandparents right before they passed. And I found out that morning. I woke up from that dream experience to a phone call that they had died in the night. Yeah. So, psychopomp. Someone said, oh, maybe your soul acts as a psychopomp while you're sleeping. I'm like...
Hypnopomp.
I don't know about that one. Maybe. But it's interesting.
Pompy pomp.
Yeah. So, in general, though, the Aboriginals believe that, again, dreams are sacred tools for entering the spiritual realm, receiving ancestral knowledge, and living in harmony with the land. Far from being dismissed as mere subconscious activity, dreaming is a central part of life, law, identity, and cosmology. So again, technology. It's a form of, like, psychological technology. I really, like, the more I'm reading about it, the more I'm like, we're missing out. So something else I wanted to do is get into some of the Celtic indigenous beliefs. That's something, I think a lot of times when we talk about indigenous people, we tend to think strictly of Black and brown indigenous groups. Mm-hmm. And that's mostly because they've held on to those traditions longer, mm-hmm. and we can still see them readily. But there are also white indigenous groups, or people from European indigenous groups, I should say. And we tend to think that is not a thing, and that's not really healthy. I don't think that's healthy. Everyone has indigenous roots to somewhere on Earth. So I wanted to get into some of the Celtic indigenous beliefs. And what do you know? The same thing. They called it dreams as messages from the other world.
No.
The Celts believed in a thin veil between this world and the other world, a timeless, magical realm inhabited by gods, ancestors, and fae, also known as spirit beings. Dreams were one way this veil thinned, allowing people to receive insight, guidance, or warnings from spirits, deities, or the dead. Shamans, or druids, or their earlier equivalents, were especially attuned to these dream journeys and might enter dream states deliberately through trance. Yeah. They also had incubation and something called sacred sleep. I love this. Some Celtic tribes practiced incubation, a ritual form of sleeping in sacred places like cairns, wells, or groves to receive visions or healing in dreams. That's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I never thought of maybe that's... Sometimes I like want to go camping really bad, and we just sleep one night out in the woods, like out in the desert.
She's like, I really want to go camping.
Maybe it's something coming from this. Maybe
just
that's some ancestral thing to go. Yeah, I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah, not more than one, just one night. Anyway, certain burial mounds or fairy hills, also known as city mounds. I think that's pronounced. I can't remember how that's pronounced.
Oh, you with the pronouncing again.
I know. No, because I know it's not city. It's pronounced differently. I'll have to look it up. Okay. We'll keep going. We're considered portals to the other world, and we're associated with dream journeys. So also, I won't try to get into it too much, but something that I've been looking into a lot is the Druids. And basically, I have Celtic heritage. Part of my family, my heritage is from Ireland and Scotland. So this is something I've been trying to look into a lot. I also have Sicilian and French heritage.
She did one of those dog DNA tests.
Yeah, I know. People are like, oh, you just sold your DNA. Listen, I have a rare disease. My DNA has been sold. Okay. I've been part of studies for this rare, for Alport syndrome since I was like that big. So my DNA was already out there. So I'm like, why not just find out what my heritage really is? That's pretty interesting. So, but it's something I've wanted to see, like, well, what, you know, I'm having these experiences that my current society does not account for. How would my ancestors, like, what would they have told me if my family never got separated from that culture and we were still in that practice? How would they talk about it? Like, what would this be? And this is what it would be. And this is really helpful that this is something that if someone in this like Druid ancient Celtic society was having experiences like this, they would say, oh, maybe you're on the path to be a Druid. Or it's like shamanism for, you know, Druidry, shamanism. It's similar concept. And that they would say, oh, you maybe have a connection to the ancestors, or like this is a particular gift that you have that's heightened in you, so this is how you can be useful to our society. Right. So I think that's interesting, because just kind of recognizing how, you know, when you get cut off from that, like I'm having experiences that ancient society accounted for. It's really helpful, I think, in terms of integrating it and understanding my own heritage and ancestry, like what's going on there. I'm finding it really comforting. So it's pretty cool. Yeah. And something specific. So the Druids were known as seers and spiritual leaders, and they may have interpreted dreams much like shamans or oracles. Celtic legends often describe Druids, bards, or even kings receiving prophetic dreams before major battles or life events. So bards were musicians, but there's also the Druids and the bards. There's also something called poet seers, where they specifically, if you go on my website, I have a whole thing about it. Because I've had very weird experiences my whole life with poetry. Again, I'm going to try to keep it brief. But basically, they had something called poet seers, where they were thought to receive poetry or sacred words or word rituals, word magic. A few different ways to describe it. But they would get messages in the form of poetry, either in dreams, in downloads, or in certain trance-like states, and it would come through poetry. And these poems were thought to be prophetic in some way, have warnings, you know, the same stuff. And I've had that specific experience for my entire life. It's pretty weird. Like, it was a thing when I was little. I started writing poetry, and the poems were kind of good, and it freaked out the adults around me. Like, I was 7 or 8 years old, and my teacher was so like blown away by a poem that I wrote that she submitted it for a statewide competition, and I won. I won money. This was in like second grade.
Pompous.
No pompous.
Palm poetry.
We really should do pompous.
Poetry.
We gotta rename the whole podcast now. It's called Pompous. Okay, but I didn't know what to do with it at the time, and I've had this. I'll wake up from a dream with a full-on song, lyrics, poem in my head. It's happened a lot. I'll have to share one of these someday. I do share them on I have another podcast called Nose Job where I do share them. So it happens to me frequently. It's a thing. So I just want to say that when I learned about this, to know that my heritage, the indigenous heritage of my ancestors, they had an explanation for this weird thing I've had with poetry my whole life that I thought, I'm just weird. Don't tell anyone about that. Yeah. They have an explanation for that? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Anyway. Dreams in Celtic mythology. I'm going to have to skip past it because I don't have 10% battery left. So there's a lot going on here. Personal and ancestral connection. Let's see. I asked about so many different indigenous groups. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do all of it. There's also healings. You can get healings in dreams too. There's also privacy and cultural protocol. Not all dreams are meant to be shared. Yeah, that's really important. Like, it's not my job to tell someone that they may or may not die. If I don't know them, they're not part of my circle.
Could you have a dream? Could someone have a dream that someone's... Yeah, I guess. Never mind answering my question.
So I think that wraps us up today. I think we have to wrap this up.
I think we got to wrap it up.
Yeah. I guess what I'll say is there are some scientists, I did ask, like, you know, are there any scientists that are looking at this? And there are like parapsychologists, but there are some neurobiologists that are really looking into this and looking at indigenous studies and agree that there's something more going on there. And that...
Like real scientists?
Yes. I wouldn't have called them a scientist if they were a handyman.
Are they the ones that...
Oh, you're wasting battery time right now. Okay. They are starting to look at it. And again, some of them are starting to see exactly what I'm saying here, that, you know, maybe there's more to this. Maybe there is some type of technology, like conscious technology.
Right.
That we're missing out on.
Right.
So I think that's interesting.
It is.
But okay, I guess we'll leave this here. How do you feel after hearing some of this stuff? I know we were already pretty pro at the beginning, and we weren't able to get a brave soul to come on yet. But if you're a brave soul and you want to join us, let us know.
So we couldn't get anybody. I mean, I feel the same, you know?
You feel the same as you did before?
I feel the same.
I feel more entrenched.
I mean,
yeah. My own experiences.
Some of the work you researched was pretty eye-opening, I thought. But the one thing that I will say before we go is that I really wish that scientists weren't too hung up on the work that they've done and actually did what scientists are supposed to do and paved the way for the future here. I
think it's important to know that at least I am not calling for the throwing out of the scientific method.
I mean, it's good in some cases.
It's done a lot of really incredible things.
Right.
I'm not denying that.
You can't.
It needs wiggle room. We need to be able to loosen up on it a bit to include more things, because otherwise you're just missing out on it.
Right.
You're dismissing it, and that is not proper science. You can't just dismiss something because it doesn't fit. You can't just make a huge assumption and then present it as fact. You got to question things. You got to question yourself.
That's like finding a new chocolate that's like so good, but you don't know if it's like milk chocolate or dark chocolate, and then you just gotta like...
He's lactose intolerant. He did not preface with that fact, so that didn't make sense when he was saying it, but now it does.
I'm just saying in general, it's like, what kind of chocolate is this? Basically, I don't know. I'll just kind of...
We need scientists to do exactly what we're doing, because we're talking about this stuff. We've put in a lot of disclaimers about our own experiences and our own beliefs, and we're being honest, like, hey, yeah, we have a bias here because of this thing that we went through. Scientists kind of, talk about pompous, get this idea that they don't have to do that they're free of bias, they're free of perspective, they're free of almost like a human condition of perspective, and they present things as, well, because I'm a scientist, it's right, you can trust me. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. You have bias.
Not how that works.
Your bias happens to run our particular society, so you get away with thinking you don't have one, but you do have one. I think we just need to start making sure that they do that they need to start explicitly saying what their bias is. I said this earlier on a TikTok. I was talking about journalism, that if you ever have a journalist saying, the only trusted source, we're not biased, red flag. No. Every human individual is biased because they have a particular perspective. To be human is to have a perspective. You cannot remove yourself from your perspective. You can temporarily put yourself in another person's perspective, but you have to go back to yours at some point. And so in an article, I don't think it's a good idea to try to say that you don't have bias. You do. The more integral thing, like the thing that would have more integrity, is to just say what your bias is.
Right.
Hold awareness of it and communicate it. Say, yeah, I lean this way because I had this experience, or because I have this family member that went through this, or whatever it is. Say it so that people can have a deeper understanding of who is telling the story and why they might be telling it that way.
Right.
That doesn't mean you don't count the story, because this is what happens to experiencers of certain phenomenon. Oh, well, because the person experienced it, they're not credible anymore. That is not what that means. That is not what that means. If you're going to use that same logic, well, because scientists believe that materialism is absolute fact, they're not credible anymore.
Oops.
So if you don't want us to hold you to that same rigidity, don't do it to us. All right.
All right. I think we're out of battery.
2% battery.
Yeah.
We're signing off here. So could you believe it now?
Yes. What about you?
Yeah, I believed it before.
Okay, me too.
I believe it a little harder now. The indigenous stuff, my personal heritage helps.
Well, that concludes this episode on dreams with Rob.
And Sami.
On could you believe it now? We'll
Bye.
see you on the next one.
Wait, what's our next episode?
Yeti.
I'm not doing Yeti.
Loch Ness.
We don't know. We're going to have to decide. I don't know. Plant consciousness? Oh, my plant isn't behind me. Oh, I forgot my plant today.
Oh, we got to do this whole thing over.
We're gonna have to do the whole thing over again.
No, we're not.
Plant consciousness.
Plant.
Or someone could become a member and then you decide.
Oh.
We'll see. My battery's absolutely clean.
We will see you next time.
See you next
San
time.
Diego. Bill with the weather.
No, we're not. Oh, my God. I know we were already pretty pro at the beginning, and we weren't able to get a brave soul to come. Celtic legends often describe druids, bards, or even kings receiving prophetic dreams before major battles or life events. So bards were musicians, but there's also the druids and the bards. There's